Hello and welcome to day 2 of our 30-day circus challenge. My name is Brandon Houston. I'm the owner of the Spinsterz, and today I'm going to be teaching you about object balancing. 30-day circus challenge, object balancing. For those of you out there with Instagram accounts, please use hashtag circus skills. Record a video of you guys learning these skills. Tag it with that hashtag circus skills with a Z at the end. And that way we can give you some feedback on how you're doing. For example, yesterday's juggling class, post some videos of you guys juggling, and we'll go in and comment and see if we can give you any tips or help you out at all. So I'm just pulling the feed up here on my Facebook so I can see any comments that are coming in. Okay, so for today's object balancing. First of all, you're going to need an object to balance. I would assume that you came here with something, but if you didn't, run downstairs, go to your kitchen, grab yourself perhaps a spatula, or maybe your chef's knife. Grab a stick. A broom works really well. I have not so tall ceilings, so depending on where you're at, a broom might not be the most effective. I bought a rake today. That thing is great to balance as long as there's no wind in the air. So grab an object, something to balance, doesn't matter what it is, I'm sure you can grab something. Peacock feathers are awesome. They're extremely easy. If you have a child with you, grab the child. They love to balance stuff. So, 101 in object balancing. Balancing an object has everything to do with its mass and where its center of gravity is. If you have something where, say for this juggling club, the center of mass is up here near the bulb, it's going to be easy to balance if your finger, your balance point, is directly underneath the center of mass. If you try to balance something like this, obviously that's not going to work. I find as well doing balancing that your mass point, the heaviest part of the object, if it's up high above your finger rather than right next to it, it's generally easier to balance. Like, this works for sure, but I find it much easier if I'm balancing with the heaviest part of the object near the top. So, do you have an object to balance yet? Did you guys go get something? I hope that you do. So balancing is a pretty simple thing. This class is probably not going to last too long because really, how much can you teach about balancing an object? But generally start with your finger. Your dominant hand is a good place to begin. I'm going to start with my index finger of my right hand and place it in the center of my object. And as you're balancing, you want to keep your eye at the top of the object. And get it straight up and down. And then take away your other hand and see if you can move your hand around to keep it balanced. Generally when you're balancing things, you don't want to be running around with it. It makes it much more challenging. Try to just move your arm, keeping a good stance. Can you use your cat? Well, if it's a petrified cat, I'm sure you could, but Fluffy's not going to like it too much. You could balance your checkbook. Yep, I have a big checkbook. You could also balance this lightsaber. Actually, you're not supposed to see this lightsaber. That's a prototype coming out soon. You didn't see that? All right. Back to balancing. You're going to watch the top of the object. You're going to move your arm around underneath. This is pretty much all you need to know and how to balance. You'll find yourself possibly running across the room wildly trying to get underneath the object. If you're doing that, just make sure not to run into any walls, children, or cats. Dogs either. So if you can balance on one finger without grabbing the object, see if you can switch it onto the next finger and then switch it to the next finger. So with balancing, again, there's not a whole lot of technique we can teach here, but I can give you lots of things to try, lots of skills to play with. So from one finger, try to hop it to the next. You're just going to give it a little jump and transfer the object to the next finger. A fun thing to try is, instead of being down like this with your hand, pointing it straight up towards the air. For those of you that can easily balance objects already, try changing your body position, getting underneath it, going down onto your knees. You probably won't be able to see this, but see if you can then sit down onto your butt and then lay down onto your back as I disappear from the camera. Object is still balancing, just barely. And then see if you can stand back up again. Very slowly, still balancing that object on your dominant finger of your dominant hand. Fun things to try. So, one of the things you can practice as well, fun tricks to do as you're balancing, is instead of switching from finger to finger, try switching from hand to hand. So you have your object balancing, you're just going to jump it over to your other hand. Jump it to your other hand. See if you can jump it to the back of your hand and hit yourself in the eyeball. Alright, so back of the hand balancing, I'm going to toss to my palm. Where balancing becomes fun is just finding different places of your body that you can put it on. So we've played with our hand. Try sticking it on an elbow. Again, you're going to want to keep your focus up near the top of the object that you're balancing. I'm no professional at this. I'm learning just right along with you guys. So, elbow balancing. Again, most of your body stays pretty quiet. And you try to move your arm around underneath it to keep the object balanced. But play with different objects with this. Like I said, grab a rake, grab a broom. Generally things that are heavier and longer work pretty well to balance as you're beginning. Here's a 3-foot staff that's got a decent amount of weight to it, and I find it a very simple thing to balance. If you can easily hop from hand to hand, to the back of the hand, you can hop it up your arm very slowly. Balancing a pen, for instance, is very, very challenging. Unless you happen to have an emergency clown nose that you can stick the pen inside, and it becomes a tiny bit easier. Just a tiny bit. About that much easier. I don't know why I feel in a joking mood today. Another place you can balance, especially if you have a longer object, is on your toe. Again, putting your foot underneath the bottom of the object. A broom, a rake, a staff works great for this. Balance on one foot. And see if you can keep your foot underneath the object. At the same time, you're balancing your body as well, so it becomes kind of an even more challenging skill, but a lot of fun to do. And I'm sure I look pretty silly with whatever concentration face I have on right now. Hey, no, I don't, Amanda. Why do most jugglers like to balance objects on their faces? Please tell me. I think it's a joke. Speaking about jugglers and balancing things, you'll see a lot of people balancing on their chins. The concept is the same here. You want to move your head around underneath the object. You want to keep your vision at the very top of the object. I'm not very good at balancing things on my nose or face. I've tried, and I'm going to keep practicing, but I'm not that great at it. I'll post some practice videos on Instagram, and we can all see how we do together. So that's pretty much it for balancing. Just go and play with it. Switch between your hands, the back of your hand, toes, your nose. If you're balancing a hoop, where do you think the best point of balance would be with this? Since its center of gravity is equally spaced around the hoop, it becomes kind of challenging. So depending on what kind of connector you're using, if you have an LED hoop, you want to find the heaviest part of your hoop, which is going to usually be where the battery is on an LED hoop, and that's going to be the best place to balance it. Either the connection down at your finger or the connection up at the top. And it is a minuscule amount of weight difference, but it's the best place to start. One of the things that I really like to do with balancing a hoop, I don't have enough ceiling height right here, but get it up, straight up above my head with one finger and play with that balance. And I'm gonna cheat and put it on my ceiling. Oh, it's so easy now. I can even spin the hoop. Anyways, that's my balancing lesson for you guys today. It's short because there's not a whole lot of technique to teach. It's just a lot of practice. Now go grab some objects, run around your house, impress your friends, scare your cat, have fun with your kids. And I really appreciate you guys watching. This is super fun for me. Day number 2. Tomorrow we are doing, what challenge are we doing tomorrow? Let's see here. Hand hooping. So in hand hooping, it's going to be all about hooping on your hands, different techniques, flowers, anti-spin flowers, isolations, things like that. So again, go to Instagram, post a video if you're trying, hashtag Circus Skills. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.